I mean, the other thing, I mean, you just mentioned about the traditional models of the music industry, because one of the things that I alluded to before is that people could make a lot of money very easily in the music industry one time. The greatest con trick of all time was the CD, where people who had built up a fantastic vinyl collection over about 10 years were suddenly told to bin the whole thing and go down to HMV and rebuy all the same albums, this time on a CD, and for £15. So the music industry was very good at churning huge amounts of money over, and I've just finished reading a book called Fortune's Fool, which is about Edgar Bronfman of the Seagram family, who was involved with Universal and then bought Warner Brothers. And, you know, they were giving people 25 million pound payoffs, you know, who'd been in the job for about 6 months. You know, because that was the thing, you know, you just named your number, and that was how the industry worked. Obviously now the traditional music model has broken down, so artists and performers are looking for the new model. And, you know, we see an interaction between the people who want to engage with that key demographic, whether it's brands, and it just doesn't have to be brands in the typical sense of consumer brands. Brands can be a government agency or whatever. Brands want to engage with that demographic, that there has to be some support coming through in a monetary way for those artists in order for them to create the music and produce the music. The other thing is as well is if you're a digital agency, if you're a marketing agency, if you're an advertising agency, if you're the person that sits between the brand who's coming to you and saying, look, we need advice on how to get to that audience, it's very important to understand now really how that audience works, because it has radically changed in a period of maybe 5 or 6 years, the way that audience integrates. And I have found it amazing that there is a whole audience out there of people who want attention. Now, this sounds strange. I mean, like we've had in the city this year, which, you know, traditionally was looked upon maybe as a bit of a boring old farts do, you know, the old dinosaurs of the music industry. And this year we've opened the gates to 16 to 24-year-olds at the Hives. We've brought young producers, musicians and stuff, a whole new group of people in. And people have said to me, well, why, you know, what the whole emphasis on youth? And I said, that person out there that looks like a student at 20, in 5 years' time, could be the guy that owns the next Facebook in the UK. And whereas I might say, well, I don't want to take his call, he's a student. 5 years from now, I might be begging to get his phone number to try and get in contact with him. So it's very important for the agencies that are that conduit between the brands and the end user to really understand how the end user, that demographic, actually works now, their social behaviours, what they use, their attention, because, you know, you can make more money, but you can't make more time, and attention is the key thing to be able to get through and grab that attention, whatever channel it may be. I'd like to we'll finally sort of come to this collaboration between brands and bands, looking at this problem, obviously, of monetizing and trying to get revenues to support grassroots musicians, because industry no longer is going out with fat checkbooks to people and giving them £5 million advances. And even when they did give you £5 million, you had to pay that £5 million back. So when Robbie Williams gets 30 million or 80 million, whatever, someone somewhere was saying, yeah, we'll start paying a royalty when we get to 80 million and £1. So it's never been just fat checkbooks. You know, it's a bit like music industry, a bit like dealers sometimes, where they would give you a fat check and get you hooked into the experience and the dream, and then work you over the next 5 years to get that money back. So that model has changed. How do we see brands at a community level? Because I know Umbro are very engaged in community work at the moment, and Umbro are very lucky because Steve Smith at Ear to the Ground understands this space. So, you know, you've got a great partner there. And working with Manchester City, how do you see the community aspect working as far as maybe musicians or creatives trying to tap into that community element and maybe get support from brands, not just talking about Umbro, but maybe your perspective as to how brands should support the communities now that the public sector checkbook has been ripped up?
Again, I think it comes down to your strategy and what you're actually trying to achieve as a brand. I mean, for us, as I said, we want to re-establish our Manchester roots. So our approach has been to launch a bursary scheme for the creative industry here, which we call Umbro Industries, which you can basically apply. You don't have to be from music. You can apply from any cultural genre, basically, for a bursary award of £10,000 we award once a quarter. So far we have given it to club promoters, we've given it to fanzine owners, people who wanted to open a gallery space. So quite a wide variety of cultural people. But I feel it's very important for us. It was almost the first part of our plan to kind of re-engage Manchester at a community level. I think too many brands right now want to kind of overstep that and go, I think today in the world of brands there's a little bit of lack of patience around building your strategy from the bottom up, and they want a big win and a big hit pretty quickly, and therefore that community piece becomes disengaged from any plan.
Yeah.
We're actually,
and I think that's a key thing, because obviously there is a realistic objective of what you're trying to achieve at a community level, and Umbro is in there for the long game in Manchester. It's been in the long game for the 86 years or whatever you mentioned that it's been around. Whereas some brands will, quick, let's get to some schools, let's put a college thing on, it'll look great, and we'll get a bit of press, and there's a PR value to it, without really any sustainability over a period of time in a community. So I think Umbro have to be congratulated on what they're trying to do for Manchester and in this region. So I think we've possibly, if anybody's got a last minute topic on that particular issue, feel free to put your hand up now. But if there isn't, I think what we'll do is we'll move on, obviously, to the challenges facing the creative industry. Trevor's just mentioned there about how Umbro are working at a community level to try and provide some support for the community. And obviously what we've had is maybe what I would call the phony war for maybe 3 or 4 years, where the public sector has supported a number of things which in their own right wouldn't have proper sustainability, that if you were writing a business plan and going to the bank to support it, the bank wouldn't give you tuppence halfpenny on it because the ideas didn't really stack up. And I think, we've got the Northwest Development Agency, which is due to, the closing date 2012. I'll put a bet on with anybody that's closed by March next year. Steve Broomhead just stepped down, and Steve has been a great supporter of In the City. And I must admit, if you'd asked me about the NWDA 3 years ago, I'd have said it's a bloody gravy train, until I got to understand actually what they were trying to achieve. And they did achieve some things, but maybe not as good at publicising the successes they had. We've got the City Council, obviously, at regional local government, who have had budgets to support a number of things through the cultural strategy initiative, but are now having to, rein that back, because you can't give £75,000 or £100,000 to an art fair when you're closing a library in Wythenshawe and the Meals on Wheels are not being delivered in Collyhurst because of cuts. So, there's a realism what one has to do. I'm just wondering how we would see, from the panel's point of view, some of the challenges, and then maybe some of the things that people feel should happen as far as collaboration between teams of entrepreneurs and possibly funders. I myself are coming from a background now of looking to put together some funds to promote the creative industries, build a bridge between the London financial community and what's going on up here. They want a return on investment, but they're prepared to put money into ventures where they can see that there is an economic impact for them as investors. So first of all, the challenges now the public sector are about to hit the wall, NWDA, and also maybe some ideas of what you think should happen to try and fill the void that's left. So maybe just starting with John at the end, if you've got an opinion on that particular aspect.
Well, I mean, there was the one person that's not based in the Northwest anymore, sadly.
So you come under Cedar, so you're luckier, you're in the southeast.
I did get the feeling I was invited because someone hadn't updated their address book. I just thought, my flat's just around the corner. Like, I thought someone still thought I lived here. In terms of the Northwest, obviously the closure and the proposed closure is terrible, and money's been put into a lot of good projects in the time when I was up here, and I heard good things since, obviously, and that's a bad thing. I guess in terms of moving forward, we don't necessarily limit our development geographically. So, for instance, when we're looking for development work, recently we've been using the fine people at Kahuna, who are based within Ear to the Ground in Kahuna Corner. Who are based in Manchester, and we use them because they're good and because we agree on things and they fit the bill for what we need. We don't just look round the corner and pick up the guy who's doing some programming work in the next room. You can manage especially digital projects over all manner of communications. So from a London perspective, we don't just stay down in London in terms of this. We will go where our contacts are and where the talent lies.
How do you think we can? Sorry, hello.
Hello. Who's that?
That's all right. You could have been just.
You just kind of fired my interest there. How can we encourage as a collaborative group of creative industries up here? How can we encourage more of that? How do you think? I mean, what do you think? I mean, I had a seminar yesterday with the RAR. They're not the RAR. The AAR came up to do a seminar on what clients want from agencies, and they came up to Manchester, and it was very much. I don't know if anyone in the audience was there. Can't see anyone who was there. No. It was very much a case of, we're coming to support you regions. It was very. It was. I just wanted to punch him in the face, to be honest. But anyway, I think
this
some
is
of
going to get nasty.
I know. No.
So
I think some people. I think some people in Manchester are probably in danger of being a bit too protective about us being up north. And I just wanted to get your insight into what do London agencies think of our creative sector up here? Do you think it's a threat? Do you think I mean, you personally, obviously, you're already using some of our talent.
we don't look at it in any way different at all. Geography doesn't matter in the slightest. When a client comes to us with a pitch, or a pitch request, it can be as simple as, here's who we want to hit. Here's the kind of idea we've had, and now go away and come back. Okay, so as simple as that. Now, in terms of how we go about doing that, and who we use and how we build it in terms of collaborative agencies, it's always contacts. We use people that we know and we trust, and those people could be in the next room, or they could be at the other end of the motorway. As long as practically we can work together in terms of communication and that side of things, obviously in this day and age that's perfectly reasonable, then who wouldn't want the right people or the best people on their team? And you just pick the best people for your team. And it can be as simple as that. Now, in terms of, I think effectively it's a PR job, because I use the people I use because I know them and trust them. And we've worked together before, potentially. Now, it doesn't hurt the fact that I've worked up here, I've worked in London. I'm from the Midlands, by the way, so I'm completely neutral, if a little unattractive. And the fact is that you take companies who run hack days and companies who do their own PR and who organise their own collaboration days. A few pizzas, a few beers, get together, share some ideas. That wasn't meant to rhyme. You go home with some phone numbers, and the next time you need that person who does that job, you pick up the phone and you work together. It's not northwest, southeast, especially not where I am. It's as simple as the right people for the right job.